Notes on solving multi-step inequalities. So we've already looked at one-step inequalities. Multi-step, this is just like an equation. Remember, just real quick, what we said earlier. The only difference in an inequality and an equation is the fact that when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to switch the inequality symbol. Otherwise, it's just like a normal equation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to erase over here so I've got some room to write. And you'll probably want to have some paper to do this. Now, one thing you can do is always apply some, again, for a multiple choice question, a testing strategy. So in this particular case, you want to look at your symbol. And then sometimes you can eliminate choices based on the graph. So this is equal to. So remember, it's got to be a solid circle. Well, all these are solid circles. So that doesn't really help. Another thing you can do sometimes is look at the answer choices and plug in values. For example, like if I take choice D, I would take the value 0. Why? Because it's in the shaded area. So take 0, plug it in for A. So if I do that, 4 plus 0 would be 4. 4 divided by 3 would be 1.3333333, which is greater than negative 2. So that's a possibility that that could be a choice. Whereas if I took one, let's say like C, and let's say I took negative 12, because it's in the shaded region. Negative 12 plus 4. Negative 12 plus 4 would be negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 3 would be negative 2.66666666, which is not greater than negative 2. So that answer choice would be out. So that's another way you can do it if it's a multiple choice. Now what we're actually going to do is work them out here. So I'm going to go over here to the side. And I'm going to work this inequality out. Now remember, the fraction bar is like a grouping symbol. So remember, when we're solving, we do reverse order of PEMDAS, which means all grouping symbols, parentheses, or in this case a fraction bar, are done last. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of the 3. Since that's division or fraction bar, I multiply both sides by 3. And remember, you can think of that as really 3 over 1, and this is cross-reducing. So that's going to leave 4 plus A is greater than or equal to negative 6. Now, I do not flip my inequality symbol, just remember, because even though this is a negative, I multiplied by positive. It's only when you multiply or divide by negative. Okay. Then I'm going to get rid of my 4 by subtracting 4 from both sides. So let's cancel. That's going to leave A is greater than or equal to. Now again, I'm subtracting 6. So I'm not multiplying or dividing. So again, I leave my inequality symbol the same. And that's A is greater than or equal to negative 10. So in this case, my answer would be B. Now, that's where you've got to be careful. So we applied a strategy earlier saying that, we tried 0 and 0 worked. But 0 would also be included in this graph. So just because you pick an answer choice that works doesn't necessarily mean that is the answer. You got to find the one that includes all of them. So if I took, like, let's say negative 6 here, and I plug negative 6 into the problem, it would also work. So just be careful with that kind of testing strategy. It will eliminate choices, but it won't always give you which one's the correct answer. Alright, so let's go to problem 2 here. Slide this over. Get rid of some of the stuff I've written. Okay. Oops. Too much. Okay. Alright, so problem 2. We have mixed numbers. So just like with equations, what we're going to do is we're going to use our calculator to help us here. But again, look at answer choices. So one answer choice I can immediately eliminate is G. There's no way it can be G. Why? Because if I look at my inequality symbol, does not have the equal sign under it. Therefore, it's an open circle. Well, that's open, that's open, that's open. That's closed. So G is out. So I've eliminated a choice immediately. So I'm going to work this by hand. I don't have a calculator, so I'm going to do this by hand real quick. So the first thing I'm going to do is change everything to an improper fraction. So remember, just a quick review, multiply, add. So that would be 3, 2, so that's negative 5/3 x plus 16 over 3 is less than, let's see, 54 and 7 would be 61 over 18. Alright, so now we're going to subtract 16 over 3. Because remember, we do reverse order of operations. So those will cancel. It's negative 5/3 x is less than. Got to get a common denominator here. So a common denominator, I multiply this by 6, top and bottom. So that would give me negative 96 over 18. So then combine here, and that would be negative 35 over 18. To get rid of the fraction, you can divide, or remember we said multiply by the reciprocal. 3 over negative 5. Okay, so right here I'm multiplying by a negative value. So I'm going to have to flip my inequality symbol. So cross reduce, that all goes away, x. So I'm going to use this. Remember, flip your inequality symbol. X is greater than. Now do some cross reducing here. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 18, 6. Negative 5 goes into negative 5 once, and then to negative 35, 7. So x is greater than, so 7 times 1, 6 times 7 over 6. Now, you need to be able to recognize that is also x is greater than 1 and 1/6. So I'm looking on the graph at 1 and 1/6, and it's going to the right, since it's to the right, and so that would be letter H. So now that we've seen the steps, I'm going to try to work through these others a little more quickly here. Here we have a decimal. So I'm going to bring it down here. So negative 1.8 minus 3 over n less than negative 15.3. So add 1.8. So that's negative 3n. That's less than. If I combine those, that's negative 13.5, I believe. And then we divide by negative 3, so I'm dividing by negative again. So I'm going to have to flip my inequality symbol. And then that's 4.5. So x or n is greater than 4.5, which would be B. Real quick, let's go back up here. If you notice, the answer choice up here did do a mixed number. That's one of the reasons we changed it besides looking at the graph. Okay, number 4. Okay. So we have 110 is greater than 2 times negative 1 minus. Now, remember there's a couple ways you can do this. I'm going to go ahead and do distributive property here. So 110 is greater than negative 2 minus 16x. I'm going to add 2. So 112 is greater than negative 16x. Then I'm going to divide by negative 16. Okay, so again, I've got to flip my inequality symbol. So if I do that, I believe that's 7, negative 7. Flip my inequality symbol. Those cancel, and that leaves x. Now, again, if I'm graphing, I always want to rewrite my statement with the variable on the left. So x goes on the left, negative 7 goes on the right. The alligator mouth is eating the x. So it would look like this, which would be choice F. And again, a good strategy here, always plug in values. So that would be negative 5. So if I plug negative 5 in, negative 5 times negative 8 would be 40. Negative 1 and 40 would be 39. And 39 times 2 is 78, which is less than 110. So it doesn't say that that one's right, but it does say it works. All right, let's keep going. We got a few more here, so I'm going to try to go a little bit faster again. All right, so number 5, first thing I'm going to do is distributive. So I'm going to bring it down here. So negative 37 plus 4v is less than 24v minus 12 plus 5v. So we have variables on the same side. I'm going to erase this one real quick so I've got more room. So with variables on the same side, you want to look for like terms. So those are like terms. I'm going to combine those. Remember, since they are on the same side, I just combine them. So 24v plus 5v will be 29v. Now I start moving stuff to the other side. Since I want my variable on the left all the time anyway, in this case, I'm going to go against what I normally do, and I'm going to move the 29v over. Usually I move the smaller variable, but this time I'm not. So that gives me negative 37 minus 25v is less than negative 12. Then I'm going to add 37. So that's negative 25v is less than 25. Then I divide by a negative. Since I'm dividing by a negative, remember the rule is you have to flip your inequality symbol. So that becomes greater than negative 1. B is greater than negative 1, which would be choice B. Alright, now these last two are not multiple choice. So just going to work these out. So first thing I'm going to do is distributive. So I'm going to bring it down here. Negative 128 is greater than 16 plus 16x. Okay, now at this point, if you want to, you can just go ahead and rewrite the inequality statement. So I'm going to put all this on the left, put this on the right. Remember, my alligator mouth is eating the negative 128, so it goes that way. And then my variable's already on the left, then you can solve. Minus 16 goes away. 16x is less than negative 144. Then I divide by 16. Let's cancel. So x is less than, we'll draw a big line here, oops, so I can separate it. So 16 goes into negative 144, negative, let's do this in my head, what would that be, negative 9 times. So x is less than negative 9. So on my graph, I've got to go up here, put an open circle at negative 9. My arrow is pointing to the left, so I shade to the left. So I shade this direction, and then put an arrow on the end. Alright, one more. Number 7 here. So get rid of all this stuff. And so lots of steps here. We're going to bring all this down. This time I'm not going to flip my sentence because since I have variables on both sides, I don't know where it's going to end up. So I get negative 6n minus 30 is less than or equal to, do distributive, negative 6n minus 18 minus 2n. Alright, so then if I go ahead and do my like terms, oops, I put an x there. That should really be n. So let's fix that. Alright, so then we get negative 6n minus 30 is less than or equal to negative 8n minus 18. I'm going to add 8n. Let's cancel. So that gives me 2n minus 30 is less than or equal to negative 18. Add 30. And we get 2n is less than or equal to 12. Divide by 2. and we get n is less than or equal to 6. Did not flip my inequality symbol because I didn't divide by negative. So I go to 6, I put a closed circle. My arrow is pointing to the left, so I shade to the left and shade. Alright, now one last thing I want to address before we end here. If you go back up to problem number 4, we had this unique case of all real numbers and no solution. So if it's all real numbers, you look in the graph, the whole thing's shaded. If it's no solution, nothing is shaded. Now, here's why, and how does that happen? In an inequality statement, if you get a statement that's true, so let's say all your variables cancel out, and you get a statement like 0 is less than 6, that is a true statement, and it is true all the time. So if you get a statement that is true all the time, then your answer is this, which is all real numbers, which means you're going to shade the inequality bar all the way across and put arrows on both ends. If you get a false statement, such as 0 is greater than 6, a false statement always means this: no solution, because there's nothing that would ever make this statement true. So those are unique cases you need to remember, and we'll probably see a couple of those on the homework as we work them.